Mr. Love up on your case again. Susie, you know, say you're platinum. I got such a beauty.
Yo, it's Mr. Lover. Yeah, you're here with PNC Drama TV with the drama girl herself. Let it be known. Shaggy on your dial, wicked and wild, full of style. Yeah.
Yeah. So this album right now, tell me how it differs from your previous albums, because you know we have the notable, producers, we have the notable artists that you're doing collabs with. I mean, how is this album totally different, or is it totally different than your previous albums? And did you go with a different theme? Did you go with a different look? I mean,
yeah, it was a different theme as far as the music. Music changes.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I wanted to come back to the streets. When I look at the whole vibe of Shaggy overall, you know what I mean? There's one thing that everybody was saying, as far as our critics were concerned, was that, he's an international artist, him sell records, right, but, the streets ain't feeling him, you know what I mean? He can't do dancehall, a lot of people figure that you couldn't stand up amongst the Bounty Killers and the Beanie Man, which was ironic to me, because I was writing a lot of them tunes with Dave Kelly and Tony Kelly, you know what I mean? That a lot of them DJ with them are rate DJ, you know what I mean? But, so I tried to do that with Wild Tonight. And I did a song which was unique, the style was unique, the vibe was wicked, you know what I mean? Still had the potential to actually do some damage mainstream, but it would really conquer the streets. We did end up getting the #1 with it in Jamaica, #1 in the Caribbean, but as soon as we started the crossover, we ran into some trouble because the record company couldn't see through that project. They didn't understand the culture of it, and they didn't want to put that kind of money into it, so they pretty much shut us down by cutting funding. There's not much I could have done to save it at that point because I didn't own the record.
Right.
You know, it was owned by Geffen Records.
And you're talking about Geffen Records. Now tell me about your own label that kind of came out of that. You're finished with Geffen at this point, correct? And you have your own label. So talk about your own label, Big Yard Records. Is that correct? How did that come about? What other artists are on your label at this point? Is it just you, or is it you're kind of expanding?
Well, that label has been around for the last 9 years. We used to just have it as a small label to just put out, our own individual dancehall tune. But once we couldn't connect with Wild Tonight, I decided that in October, I had the opportunity to get out. I was up for renegotiation with Geffen Records in October. But according to my contract, because we sold so many records, there were clauses in that contract that they would have to pay me an X amount of sum to keep me. Records ain't selling like how they used to, so it was a heavy chunk for them to put. So it was either they were trying to renegotiate with me to actually work a deal out to where we take it on the back end.
Right.
Mama didn't raise no fool.
Right, of course not.
Record now sell again, so it don't make sense to take nothing on the back end. So it's either them let me go or pay me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And you opted for...
Yeah, to let go. So once that happened, I went into the studio and I came out with Church It In. And I knew I couldn't go that direction with them with Church It In. Imagine me walking into Geffen Records with Church It In and say that's my next big record. What they would say? A bunch of guys in suits. You know what I mean? It wouldn't work. You know what I mean? So we put it on Big Yard, and we released it. And obviously we had a #1, 17 weeks, and #1 throughout the Caribbean, one of the biggest #1 for last year. What it actually do now is basically cement Shaggy back into the core.
Right.
You know what I mean? And got back your ratings, because there's a new generation now that's listening to dancehall.
Right.
That didn't listen to dancehall from before. So they got into the world music, and then we just kind of just keep it going from there. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Did a joint venture with VP Records.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Because they understood the direction I was going and what I wanted to do. And the difference between this deal and them is a joint venture deal. You know what I mean?
So they're miles ahead, right?
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is that in my deal, where it's difference from everyone, is that we both stand the cost.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or even more so, me standing the cost right now. You know, because we want to make sure that we maintain control. And how you can maintain control, you pay the cost to be the boss.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, we're talking about you working with different artists, and, there's a lot of people have different things to say about your music, whether, you're doing music dance hall, they love it, or they're saying it's more of pop. How do you deal with the negative comments that come at you about your music, whether it's, they classify it as more of a pop reggae versus a dancehall hardcore? I mean, what is your response to those who are out there and they have those critiques of your music?
Well, my thing is, negativity is the fuel to my fire.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I remember back in 1993, no, I'm lying, 96, we had a song called Bombastic.
Right.
I was in England, and it was a reporter from the Sun actually wrote, "Bombastic is driving me ballistic." this record isn't even worth the vinyl it's being pressed on.
Wow.
Right after we came #1, I found out that we were having an interview, a couple of interviews that day, and that same reporter was supposed to interview me. And he sat right in front of me and praised the record, how great it was. So critics are just that, critics.
So
you know what I mean?
did you call him out? Were you like, hey?
No. There was no time.
not you?
I didn't give it that much energy.
Right.
You know what I mean? It wasn't that, but it just solidified what I was saying. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, you can check the track record. You know what I mean?
Right.
First of all, there's nobody that sold more records. There's nobody that with more classic #1s than me. And almost when you check from Old Carolina, Bombastic, it wasn't me. These were all songs that were not just #1 overseas, but they were #1 in Jamaica.
Okay.
And they were a huge #1. You know what I mean? And whosoever said we can't do this or can't do that, we just proved that with Church Eden.
Right.
You know what I mean? So where them ever say no? What now? You know what I mean? And my argument is if you don't get it after 16 years, you'll never get it. You know what I mean? So if you still saying Shaggy is this and Shaggy is that, after 20 million records sold, after huge amount of #1, after songs that I've actually written, and I write my own music. A lot of people don't do that. And if you don't get it by now, you will never get it.
Okay, so that's what you're telling them.
Exactly.
If you don't get it by now,
If you don't get it after,
get it.
if you don't get it after 16 years, you will never get it. You are a hater. A lot of these older cats, like James Brown, was just a Shaggy fan. This man kicked my door open and sat beside me and was like, "Yo, you're the truth. The world needs to know you're the truth." You know what I mean?
Did you do any, James Brown dance moves? Would y'all change the
No, it ain't, but dance move. Nah, it wasn't about that. It was just a mutual respect, you know what I mean?
I mean, because, if I was around James Brown, I'd be trying to learn something, get on the good foot.
James just came out and watched my show every night.
Oh, he did.
That was his whole
He's
thing.
a good fan.
He came out and just watched my show, and then eventually just walked into my dressing room one day and shut it behind me and told me what he thought.
Oh, that's what's up.
You know what I mean? So,
Rest in peace.
yeah, I'm for just big him up.
Yeah. So, finally, we want to know what your advice is, because there's a lot of artists coming in the game, and everybody thinks that they can be they have the next hit.
Yeah.
What is your honest advice to them, to those who are on the grind, who are trying to be like the next Shaggy, making hits and coming back and being able to do something really positive or something really great?
Your grandmother always have a saying, old people have a saying. See, you carry the donkey to the water, you can't make him drink. Yeah?
Yeah.
I can't want it more than you. You dig that?
Yeah.
You can't expect record companies and other people to invest their money in you when you don't, you ain't putting that effort out.
Right.
If you get up and dream this every day, you get up and music consumes you, then you'll make it. You know what I'm saying? That's what it's about, you know what I mean? You can have 10% talent, you know what I mean? And 90% attitude and still make it. You know what I mean? You've seen that over and over again. Look at Janet Jackson.
Wow.
You know.
That's my sister, though.
You know. But
How you feel about Michael?
he's dope. He's dope. Nah, Janet, no, I'm not. Let me rephrase. It's not. Janet is dope. But what I'm saying is,
drama. Hey.
there's some people that are not incredibly great singers.
Right. Okay.
But they're stars.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then you have people who are incredibly great singers and writers who, because they have a really bad attitude or they don't want to work as hard other than that, just don't make it. How many times you see artists that they don't write their own stuff, they can't really sing high notes, they just be safe in a certain zone, you know what I mean? And they become big superstars.
Right.
You know what I mean? Why? Because they're dedicated and they go out there and work.
Exactly.
You can't take that from Janet Jackson. That's a hard-working woman.
It is. She
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, she ain't no Whitney.
Woulda never get me straight, no matter how hard them try.
Nothing can mash up me and me bonify.
Do you see me hesitate about that thing, say me shy?
Nothing can mash up me and me bonify.
They coulda have the come me, feel me roll me higher.
Nothing can mash up me and me bonify.
Sweet girl.